Hello there folks, Martin Pavey here. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here on, you'll forgive me, it is weird weather. It's both sort of muggy and mild and cold and breezy and a bit wet. So if you hear little sounds in the background, there's a helicopter about to come over I think. But if you hear little sounds, it's raindrops falling. And yeah, I'm just going to turn you around and I'll show you that we're here in right by the woods here. But I thought I'd give you the view of this beautiful Wuthering Heights style farmhouse. So being a bit humble today, that's what we're going to be talking about. Before we do that, please do like and subscribe and share to spread this very important message. If you enjoy these videos, you get any value out of them. So it's very hard these days. Yeah, the helicopter is approaching. It's very hard these days to agree on definitions of things. And a lot of Socrates famously said that the beginning of wisdom is the naming of terms. So in order to have discussions and to have concord with your fellow human being, which direction's it coming from? There's always something going on in Chatsworth Park. We're right on the edge of the estate here. If you want to concord, then you have to agree on facts, on definitions of things, and even that actually can be a very challenging thing these days. What's a man? What's a woman? You know, all of these different questions. Should children be put on life-altering and irreversible drugs? And well, the answer is no. But there are people that do actually push this and believe this. So it makes defining character traits, personality traits, quite difficult. And humility is one that I think a lot of people struggle with, because the West was built on Christianity and we have these different notions. But humility, I think, gets hijacked in that a lot of people will believe that being humble means being, you know, on the back foot and always prostrating yourself and being very meek, and it's sort of almost a sign of weakness. But actually, to me, I see things, you know, slightly differently. Actually, I see things in a more open way. That if you're humble, what it actually means is you're willing to be open to being wrong, you know, to being mistaken, and maybe not seeing things very clearly, but being open enough that in the face of real world experience, that you can take a step back and you can allow yourself to listen. You know, I think it's an openness, really, that humility, that we don't know everything. And these days, it seems, particularly with online or that kind of jazz, it seems that everybody has to have an answer for everything. And there is, I do definitely believe there are root causes to everything. Is it possible that there are certain things that we just can't know? Yes. I mean, anything is possible. And I think that a humble mind that's willing to examine life and assume nothing, because to assume is to make an ass out of you and me. We don't want to assume things. We don't want to be living in blindness, in darkness. We don't want that. No, very few people actually want that. It seems like a lot of people are hell-bent on destroying, you know, a peaceful and prosperous way of life. It's a very very small number of people that really want to do that. And what I want to impress upon you, dear viewers, watching these videos is, well, I got a couple of new subscribers recently, which is quite exciting. So the plan is working, and you keep going. You have a relentless pursuit for truth and genuine knowledge. And I'm writing a new book at the moment. I'm really enjoying it because I'm doing it more. I've done a couple of books in the past, and the first one was basically an autobiography. It was sort of quite chronological. And there were little bits and pieces in there about my life experiences and things. But this new book, it's more personal. And one of the chapters that I was actually writing was on the difference between believing and knowing. And knowing things, being genuinely scientific, is actually, it's quite a difficult thing to do. It's quite a difficult thing to do because we live in an immensely rich and abundant world, and actually really rooting down, of finding real evidence, solid foundations for what you might call belief or for knowledge is quite a task. And a lot of people believe things, but they don't necessarily have anything to back it up. But for me, knowledge, it's stuff that you can apply. It's stuff that's real and tangible, and it stands the test of time. And certainly a humble attitude, a willingness to listen to other people, and fundamentally we may all have our unique perspectives on the truth, and we may agree or disagree with each other, but what humility allows for is you can have peaceful interactions with people, but still disagree. That you can have real examinations of real things. And I was speaking with somebody yesterday, a quite important person that I follow, and the discussion became quite heated. I'm not going to say who it is, and I don't know if he'll watch this video. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But what I found was, it's what inspired the post this morning to write about humility, that there are a lot of people who call themselves truth seekers, but it's very easy for them to stray onto a path where it's to the exclusion of absolutely all else, and they can't take on new information, and he did get quite angry. And this is what you find a lot. It's something that I'm experiencing a hell of a lot more now that I'm asserting myself in a much stronger way. And you'll find the same thing as well. That you'll find that people do not want to be disagreed with. they really, really don't. And I know that the best times of my life are where I have been humbled, where I've been so fixated on a particular point of view that, again, it's been at the exclusion of everything else, particularly the exclusion of truth. And there have been times where I've let the dust settle. I've gone back to whoever it was I was disagreeing with, mostly out of anger, I'll be honest. And I've gone back to them and said, look, okay, that wasn't a really good way to behave. I'm sorry. I understand what you're saying now. And that's how we learn. Sometimes it's a bit of a struggle, sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to be genuinely open. And you find that most people aren't, and they want, this is why I talk about a rich and abundant world. They want a one-stop shop, a one answer, fits all. And it doesn't. The world doesn't work in that way, because what you notice about the people who go so far down the rabbit hole, that it gets very, very dark and very, very twisted, and it's a mess. And a lot of people will say, oh, I've come out the other side of the tunnel, but they still don't really know how to interact properly. And we have to move through the world, and there are a handful of people that do genuinely, place themselves on top of a lofty mountain and and don't interact with the world. But from what I can see of those people, it doesn't work out well. It doesn't work out well for those people, because you want to be able to move peacefully through the world. And I think it sounds like a modest and humble ambition. But what I've actually always wanted to do is be able to live in the world where basically nothing bothers me, where I won't allow things to get me down or to hinder my progress. That's what I've always wanted. And I think that's actually I talked the other day, I think it is a good aspiration, that whatever you're looking at, that you can stare it in the face and just laugh. You can have fun with all of these things. Again, not saying it's easy, but I think that is, if you think about your favorite characters from films, say, well, what are the traits that actually that unite all those different characters? And one of them will be, if this is a word, an unflappability. That they won't be reactive, they won't fly off the handle, they will learn to be mature. I think maturity is a huge part of humility. That, yeah, there's loads of stuff going on out there, but you remain resolute in your posture, that you're confident, you're strong, that you're actually very grounded and peaceful. And I think all of those are part of humility. But as I say, also a willingness to listen, to really connect with what people are saying, and very importantly, why they're saying it. Why do people believe what they believe? Well, often it's out of fear of not wanting to stand out from the pack. But it's also, people want acceptance, they want community, they want to be involved. I was talking about this the other day. Everybody wants to be involved in positive and in negative ways. But yeah, it's a difficult path to tread, being humble, which is why people will revert to just saying, oh, well, yeah, it says this in the Bible and blah, 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 blah. And they will live very, very passively, and won't actually put into practice the sort of non-egotistical behavior. And often you'll find that they can develop pathological sort of dislike for people and intolerance of people, even though they have been in the same position as those people, but can't understand why, oh, well, that person, why aren't they breaking free? Why can't they see what is the truth? And this is where this weird concept has emerged recently, the idea of my truth. And well, no, there's stuff that happens, and if we're willing to discuss it properly, it can be figured out, or you can figure it out on your own. But you'll find that there's a lack of understanding on the part of people who have transformed, which is always a really weird thing to me, that if you've been in that position and you've learned techniques, that's why, again, I say this a lot, but it's why I record these videos, because I want to chart the stuff that I've learned and help as many people as possible to live as best a possible life as they can, accepting the fact, and you have to be humble about this as well, accepting the fact that not everybody will want to change. They won't want to let go of their conditioning. We're so hideously conditioned. We've got so many contradictory beliefs that we try and make sense of, but doesn't pan out. But we do our absolute level best in our own ways. This is my way of contributing. I'm writing, I'm sharing things on social media, doing those kind of things to actually really inspire people. And it's really heartwarming when you put your heart and soul into an article or an email or a little post or whatever it is, and somebody comes back, as happened with me today, that I put out my morning blog post about this subject, and somebody, one word comment, just said, beautiful. And I think that for me is such a win. Strangely though, on Twitter, I didn't actually get a notification for it. I just happened to be scrolling down my timeline to refresh my memory about little points that I'd made in the article that I've shared with you on this video, and just saw that there was a like on it and a comment, but I didn't get a notification for it. So, a bit strange. I'm getting a telephone call from somebody in London. Oh well. I don't know. Oh yes, I think I do know who that is. I think that's an estate agent. Martin, you're still selling your property in London? No, I sold it ages ago. Very strange. Anyway, but be humble, be willing to listen, and be willing, I don't like to word it this way, but be willing, to be wrong, to have your mind changed in the face of evidence, and tread that path. It's very heartwarming to be able to make real connections with people. And what I really want to make clear is I'm not just recording these videos, to grandstand and say, well, this is the truth. Anybody else who disagrees with me is wrong. I'm just sharing what I've learned along the way, and I want to make as many friends as possible in as many ways as I can. But you're not going to convince everybody. And even if it's one person who you interact with and you leave with your day being better and their day being better, because you can interact with them calmly and humbly, that is a win. So thank you very much for listening. Martin Pavey here from the glorious Derbyshire countryside. Please do like, subscribe and share to spread this very important message. And I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Ciao for now.